But sometimes, you get lucky. And Bernie Sanders, he was not exactly the odds-on favorite when this thing started. But, Elizabeth Warren, the fake Indian, his main competitor, she decided to mimic all of his positions, and it made everybody realize what a phony she was. And, why, if you give people a choice between a communist and a communist, they're going to vote for the communist, the real communist, right? So she's gone. And now Bernie is stuck in Washington at the impeachment so-called trial with the fake Indian and Amy Klobuchar and Michael Bennet, who I guess is still running from Colorado. And Joe Biden has the lane to himself, and he's just going around just committing one ridiculous gaffe after another. And then again, Bernie's stuck in D.C., can't really campaign much. And Bloomberg's going out there running these crazy ads. He's now been endorsed by dogs. So in other words, what I'm getting at is everything is breaking Bernie's way. Even the people that have billions of dollars literally to spend against him, even people who have all the time in the world to campaign against him, they're walking around stumbling, shooting themselves in the foot. So Bernie is pulling away, according to all the polls. He's ahead in Iowa. A week later, the New Hampshire primaries, he's ahead in New Hampshire. He's running second now in South Carolina, the biggest state of all. California, he's way ahead. So Bernie Sanders appears to be the favorite right now to get the Democrat nomination. And there's an interesting story in in New York Magazine, The National Interest, it's called. It's written by a rabid lefty named Jonathan Chait. He's not a terribly reliable reporter, but this is kind of an interesting story because he's just saying, wait a second. You don't want to nominate Bernie Sanders. So I would just want to read you a little bit of it, and then we'll take some calls. Running Bernie Sanders against Trump world would be an act of insanity. Sanders is an extremely, perhaps uniquely risky nominee. And then he compares him to Barry Goldwater in '64 for, being on the far right fringes in a time of general prosperity. To nominate Sanders would be insane. The party has adopted a comprehensive left-wing agenda, some of which is popular, some of which is decidedly not. This is meaning Bernie's left-wing agenda. Positions in the latter category include replacing all private health insurance with a government plan, banning fracking, letting prisoners vote, decriminalizing the border, giving free health care to illegal aliens, and eliminating ICE. I am only listing Sanders' proposals that are intensely unpopular. I am not including positions like national rent control and phasing out all nuclear energy that I consider ill-advised, but which probably won't harm him much with voters. And then he talks about how the fake Indian endorsed a lot of these cockamamie proposals, but it just hurt her. Sanders probably wasn't trying to undermine Warren by luring her into adopting all of his policies, but it has worked out quite well for him and poorly for her. Many people lately have gotten the impression that socialism is actually popular, which is absolutely not the case. And on top of that, he has a web of creepy associations that will make it child's play for the opposition in the fall to paint his program as radical and dangerous. Vintage video of Bernie palling around with Soviet communists will make for an almost insultingly easy way for Republicans to communicate the idea that his plans to expand government are radical. And of course, he's always run in Vermont, which, used to be a reliably sensible Republican state. But there were too many people like Bernie and Ben and Jerry moved in from New York, and the state is wackier than Massachusetts. Sanders has never faced an electorate where these vulnerabilities could be used against him, nor for that matter has he had to defend some of his bizarre youthful musings, such as his theory that sexual repression causes breast cancer. or the suspicious finances involving his wife's college. Democrats are rightfully concerned about attacks on Hunter Biden's nepotistic role at Burisma, but Sanders is going to have to defend equally questionable deals like the $500,000 his wife's now defunct university paid for a woodworking program run by his stepdaughter. At this point, there is hardly any evidence to believe that the best strategy to defeat Donald Trump is to mobilize voters with a radical economic agenda. Public satisfaction with the economy is now at its highest point since the peak of the dot-com boom 2 decades ago. Trump's reelection strategy revolves around painting his opponents as radical and dangerous. You may not like me, Trump will argue, but my opponents are going to turn over the apple cart. Sanders' campaign seems almost designed to play directly into Trump's message. Yep. Go for it, Bernie. Go, Bernie, go.